I think we have a problem with AI and SEM marketing. Now, it's possible to use AI and RPA to fill out forms online. AI can easily defeat content validation. It can pass image recognition tests and easily generate names, phone numbers, and emails that seem legit. I will demonstrate this in this video using ChatGPT. RPA acts like a human because it's a puppet. RPA can record your action of scrolling around on a page, click things, watch a video, accept a cookie, and then fill out a form with a browser signature. We know something is happening. We don't know what, but it's costing us money. I suspect that RPA, robotic process automation, combined with AI, is being used to attack SEM advertisers. I will demonstrate examples of this in this video. I think other more dangerous things will result from this. However, they are outside of my purview, so I'll focus on what I know and what I can demonstrate, SEM marketing. I will give a brief account history, examples of these suspicious attacks, and how our systems are set up. Qualitatively, these are sophisticated. They are indistinguishable from what a human would do. The name is reasonably likely to be a human name. The email seems legit. Even the phone number has the correct area code, prefix. There's just one problem. When you try to call these people or you email them, they never respond because they don't exist. The frequency of these occurrences is not insignificant. Quantitatively, they are not small amounts, and it is occurring across multiple accounts. Here in this client's account, we have 651 leads that have occurred since January. Back in January, we were looking at about 10%, which is much higher than the 3 to 5% we might expect for spam. By March, we're looking at 25% of all the leads that are coming through are trash, back-to-back advertising clicks, paid clicks. By the end of April into May, we're looking at as much as 50 to 75% of all of the leads that are coming through with paid advertising click IDs are fake. Before I move into the next section, let me just set 3 client accounts on the table that have been hit the worst. This account has 222 leads for a labor-based service, of which about 60 of them were fake. This client account since January to May has had 651 leads, of which about 350 were fake. And here we have the most disturbing example, 1,230 leads from January 1st to May 3rd of 2023, of which at least 750 of them are no call, no show, no email, bounced email, or phone doesn't even work. Let me make sure I'm clear here though. These are not SEO optimized blog post landing pages. No. These are squeeze pages, finely tuned through SaaS systems, landing page systems, and even custom builds that have verified Google click IDs. These are paid clicks to squeeze pages through the GoogleAds advertising platform. These landing pages track the amount of time the human is on the page. Even the Twilio API is used to do a phone number lookup, and the reCAPTCHA forms are being validated and is correctly installed. It's happening in multiple CRM systems, including Salesforce. It's happening in niche market CRM systems like Builder Prime for small businesses. It's happening in much larger systems like SharpSpring that comes complete with its own landing page setup. It's even happening in HubSpot that has its own SaaS landing page system with pages that have been working perfectly fine for years and are quarantined from the rest of the internet. Not indexed, not SEO optimized, just straight up SEM advertising using squeeze pages. Thankfully, there is somewhere it's not happening, or if it is, it's not abundantly apparent, and that seems to be the e-commerce space. So for example, in these various Shopify sites, for these clients, I don't seem to notice any of those types of AI shenanigans that I've previously presented or will present in this video. In fact, our sales are up, our Google Ads clicks are up, and things seem to be going well. There are problems here with AI of a completely different nature, but I'm not going to cover that in this video. So let me demonstrate what my front line looks like. Here's what clients are saying. Competitors are attacking us. Seems reasonable. My response to that is why though? Google rewards us for clicks that convert. So if competitors are attacking us, they're also kind of helping us. It would be an expensive full-time job for a competitor to hire someone to click on your opponent's ads all day, but maybe it's a real thing that still happens to this day. Maybe they simply have the money to attack us. My response is, well, what I'm seeing here does look sophisticated. It looks like humans doing it. I'll investigate. That's the best I can offer. Clients also say Google is doing it. Why though, is my response to that. Everyone would quit spending money. Google clearly doesn't want the ad budgets of the whole world to go extinct. Their response to this is clever. Maybe they only do it to 15% of all leads. I'm afraid to even mention such an accusation, and the truth should be more important to us than just guessing. Next up, click fraud protection companies are attacking us. It's a racket. Why though? It does not make sense to break the very thing you are fixing. Their response is, maybe they're mad we canceled our account. Well, protection rackets are not unreasonable fears. And again, let's investigate. The truth should be more important to us than just thinking we are right. The Google AI has become Skynet. This one's an interesting conversation, but it sounds like science fiction to me. Google engineers surely would catch that. Maybe the AI is just smart enough to reward itself for conversions. Now, in the case of e-commerce, that's simply impossible. If the AI is checking out on our website and ordering products, well then that's great. However, that could indeed happen with lead generation that's set up on ROAS or CPA models. For example, we're only estimating what the value of a lead is, especially if we don't have a CRM system connected back up to Google Ads, and some clients don't. So this brings us to the next one, which is political. Russia, India, China are doing it to us, which I understand that argument, but this isn't the hill I want to die on. Why, though, is my question. What do they even get from wasting our time? And their answer to that is maybe they're preparing to attack bigger targets, and this, gets me thinking. But let's see if everyone else is having this problem, and let's talk about it in the SEM community. So this brings me to before AI plus RPA. Back in, let's say, 2010 to 2015, we had bots, classic spam. 1 to 3% of all the leads that came in were going to be trash, hot garbage. And this was just an uncomfortable truth that I would have to explain to clients. But it wasn't bad, it was bearable. But then in 2015 and 2022, we get these complex SEM attacks with RPA. Now, you're dealing with about 3 to 5% of your leads are trash. This is also around about when we get the click fraud companies starting to show up on the scene proposing to have the solution. That brings us to AI plus RPA, which it's clear to me since January of 2023, this year, there's a sudden increase, 10%. That's double. That brings us to a major increase I've seen from February to March of 2023 of about 25% of all of our leads are trash. They seem like spam. That brings us to the colossal increase that happened just here from April to May, which is 50 to 75%. Now, it's not every client. Let me disambiguate the three groups: sales, leads, and of course, traffic. Now, under sales, we've got classic e-commerce, which seems to me to have been minimally harmed. There's a 15% increase in clicks. It has been a little more costly. And AI has some weird policy enforcement stuff going on, but that's another story. Traffic, the entertainment information sites, I don't manage too many of those. I think they're a little harder to measure, and the click cost volume has increased, although it seems to be offset by the revenue from some AdSense, which varies. So if you're driving traffic to your site and getting ad clicks there from the AI, well, at least you're kind of making money. Next up, we have leads, labor services, B2B interactions. Major harm here. A colossal increase in trash leads. The phone is not answered at all in many of these cases, if not all of them that we think are spammy. Email is not answered, or it just straight up bounces back as no such email. When calls from call ads do occur, they're often very strange or silent and then hang up. Now, don't get me wrong, we still have a few real leads coming through here. Let me then take a moment to put the scale and scope of what I see on the stage here. So I'm not a colossus. From 2009 until 2023, I have managed about 271 campaigns. Of those campaigns, not all of them are active. I'll switch this over only to the enabled campaigns. We're dealing with a total of 32 campaigns that are currently active. So it's not an overwhelming amount. And this number of campaigns is split up over this total number of clients. So it's a reasonably good job as an SEM manager. In addition to this, I'm also writing code and developing any custom software online that they may need. So SEM represents about 60 to 70% of what I'm doing on a daily basis. Prior to, let's say, 2020, I would say it represented maybe 15 to 20%. And from this period of time, 2009 to 2023, I'd like to say I've seen it all. I don't know if I really have, but I've seen quite a bit. I've seen interesting things, shenanigans, every type of spam or online scam you can think of, and I've done my best to defend those clients and improve their campaigns, and they would not increase their spend if it wasn't working. But now there is something that isn't working, and it's extremely costly. So what to do? Well, if it's AI gone rogue with human puppets, that's an internal problem deep within the system. The AI is operating in an undesirable way over at Google. This is happening to me. Is it happening to you? So this is what I see. On the other hand, if it's rogue humans with AI puppets, well, then that's external. Spammers, scammers, and bad actors are behaving undesirably. And again, this is happening to me. Is it happening to you? What do we do? Triage. And I think the best I can offer a client is to say, pause the ads to save your company. And in the worst case scenarios, this is exactly what I've been suggesting clients do. Shut it all down. And in these extreme situations, it's often an omni-channel approach to the market. And you could make some arguments, some clever statements like don't put all your eggs in one basket. And sure, you'd be right in the bigger picture. But these are scenarios where these clients have enjoyed the advertising account and started to grow their business for an extended period of time and now are under attack by an AI system that is making the advertising unsustainable in a situation that otherwise would be profitable. So if you already have arrived at similar conclusions and you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing on your front line, I would encourage you to check out this video. The AI Dilemma, March 9th, 2023, came out about 3 weeks ago, and here the Center for Humane Technology makes some startling predictions and points out some colossally important concepts. It's a sort of canary in the coal mine, in my opinion. It shows the first contact with AI was not good. And the second contact with AI, well, from my perspective, we are seeing it right here on the front line of SEM marketing. In this next segment, I'm going to present examples of the spam and AI shenanigans we've been seeing. But before I do that, head over to chat.openai.com and ask it to generate some random first names, last names, emails, and phone numbers using specific area codes, and keep that in mind as you watch the next segment. So I'm going to select just one example that will be typical of all of the other examples and carry it through this next segment from start to finish. First off, this name looks real. It seems legit. Now I'm blurring it out because I don't know for sure if this is AI or spam, and on the off chance the one I pick happens to be a real human, I don't want to dox them. But this first and last name looks real. Even this email address looks reasonably real. It looks like a human made it. And the phone number is even very convincing. We have Twilio hooked up to this lead gen system, and Twilio does a phone number lookup before it allows a lead to process. I will demonstrate that later. So that's our first line of defense. Does the name look real? Does the email look real? And is the phone number at least correct? Is the area code right for the area we're targeting? And is it even really a cell phone that Twilio can look up using the carrier API? And the answer to those questions is yes, this looks real. Next up, it should be noted we do look up IP addresses, and we log this information. It's part of the click fraud ecosystem. Now, we're not the CIA. We can't triangulate people. We can't always uncover whether or not they're using a VPN. but we make sure that we do our best to track this information. So at the very least, if it is click fraud, I can block the IP address and come back to Google and say, hey, people way outside of our targeted area are clicking on ads. Can you maybe give us a refund on this? Clearly this looks like spam. I am a huge fan of using UTM tracking vars, so I grab it all. I install all the basics and more. I take the campaign ID, the ad group ID, the ad content they clicked on, and even the keyword match type. Sometimes it's really helpful for a salesperson to know all of those things. Next up, of course, we grab the Google Click ID, or the Facebook Click ID, or the Microsoft Click ID. That proves, hey, we really did indeed pay for this particular click. Next up, we grab user agents, and of course that's really useful if you're trying to mobile optimize your site. Statistically, knowing who uses the site is great, but we see in all of the examples of where this super sophisticated spam is coming through something unusual. Now I know user agents can be faked, I have seen it, but it's pretty rare for the typical, let's say, non-intelligent spam, and they're not the same. They're an eclectic mix of user agents. Next up, we also do a time analysis. And this is, of course, to try to reasonably figure out, was it a human being that spent a reasonable amount of time on the website? Obviously, if we see a bunch of users coming in, only spending 1 second on the site, and they manage to fill out the form, most humans can't type that fast, even with autofill. They're going to be there for about 8 seconds. And this is where things start to get even more interesting. Every single one of these bogus leads that have come through have varying time differences from 35 seconds to 400 seconds, as if the browser window was actually open and being controlled supposedly by a human for several minutes. Next up, I even include the reCAPTCHA response. Now I know this seems a little weird, but if you're a developer, I think you'll chuckle and understand why I did this. Since January, we really started getting hit hard with spam. Weird spam. Not just bots, but like sophisticated AI stuff. So one of my theories to debug was, is reCAPTCHA even firing? Are clever humans somehow figuring out how to skip JavaScript or defeat the Google reCAPTCHA system? And it turns out they're not. We see a validated reCAPTCHA response in our actual lead emails, which of course we don't send that to the customer, but from our end, I want that included in the backup lead, just so if I have to track down whether or not a bot is doing this, if I don't see this reCAPTCHA stamp, I know it's not firing or not working correctly. So it turns out we've left this in, and in nearly every single result, the overwhelming majority of the spam emails that have been coming through, it's here. And that's what I would expect if an AI is able to defeat the reCAPTCHA image challenges because it can do image recognition. Of the 37 accounts that I manage, all of them have Google reCAPTCHA in some form. The overwhelming majority are V2 invisible with the image challenge. However, we do have an eclectic mix of V2 checkboxes and V3. And for the most part, we do see that the system seems to be working correctly. If we look at the stats here, we see no CAPTCHAs, passes, and fails. And it's not an overwhelming number of suspicious requests. It appears that reCAPTCHA is doing its job. So remember, part of the reason we do all this is so if we detect spam or fraud or whatever the deal may be, we can stop it, prevent it, or report it to Google or ask for a refund. And for the most part, at least on every single one that I've checked, these emails aren't flagged on Clean Talk. They do have strange things though. Many times they'll have a last update that's very recent or an MX error as a real email, but so far, none of the ones that I've looked at have been blacklisted. So let's close out the basics here with one final stat to consider. I'm a pretty active SEM manager. Throughout all time, from 2009 to 2023, in the accounts I've managed under this MCC ID, I've made 44,000 changes to these accounts. So it's not like I'm sitting back and just letting the auto-apply system do whatever it wants. I have long been skeptical of how much rope we should give AI to hang itself or us, so much so that across all sub-accounts, this account and all sub-accounts, throughout all time, 2009 to 2023, that these accounts have been active, the tool Recommendations Auto Apply has only been allowed to make about 120 changes, 40 bidding changes, 25 keyword changes, and 21 status changes. Now at this point, I've painted a pretty bleak picture here, but I feel it necessary to point out this is not happening to everyone's account. There are accounts that are e-commerce based where this problem isn't happening at all. And there are also other lead gen based accounts where this problem happens, but it's within what I would call an acceptable margin of error, or just the nonsense that comes with the territory of SEM advertising. But in the accounts where this has happened to an extreme, it is exceedingly bad. Let me now move the goalpost forward into the next phase here. Can artificial intelligence fill out forms? Yes, absolutely. It's totally doable. And I think I might do a separate video where maybe I go rent Axiom.ai and maybe I test out my own forms. Maybe that's where I need to take it. However, that's not this video. So to just simply move forward, yeah, you can automate form filling with bots and maybe even ChatGPT. So it's totally possible to use artificial intelligence to fill out even an application form. And it's not like automation with RPA, robotic process automation, isn't accessible or affordable. Companies like Nintex have done a really great job of making it so you could train a bot to highlight something on a page, click here, click on this particular button, and then fill out a form. And if we tie in AI to drive that RPA, we end up in a scenario where you've got robotic process automation and artificial intelligence that could do something just like this. Generate 5 random first names, last names, emails, and phone numbers using these area codes and correct prefixes for this specific area. Let's see how ChatGPT does with this. Now the results that we have here are disturbingly similar to every single one of the suspicious email leads we've gotten through the system. These are exactly the type of names that we see showing up. Now, after all that, it is not at all outside the realm of possibility or reason that someone with an RPA automation system and artificial intelligence could connect all that to a Polygator SIM card server and validate actual devices with real physical SIM cards. So to close out this segment of the video, it's not like we can't purchase ChatGPT. It is possible to purchase the OpenAI language models for ChatGPT-4 as far as I can see, and although I'm not comfortable making the claim they could lift all of the security features, for example, I am aware that you can't ask ChatGPT to go hack someone's website, or you can't tell it to fill out a form. I tried that. But if someone paid enough money or got their hands on one of these OpenAI models, there's nothing, as far as I can tell, stopping them from going into the code and stripping out all of the safety mechanisms that would theoretically prevent somebody from doing the more dangerous things that can be done with a language model. Now, that's just presuming someone has the money to go buy OpenAI. In theory, you could just use Nintex and wire that in to ChatGPT in such a clever way at one of the lower usage tiers that you record your screen interactions with your mouse, abusing someone's website or doing Google searches, and then abusing their advertising campaign, and then telling the AI one form at a time for 30 to 45 seconds, scroll up and down a page, and then fill it out with a random name, email, and phone number. Totally plausible. So let's wrap this up here. I have thus demonstrated something is happening. I think it's humans using AI in nefarious ways. Our first contact with AI was bad. I believe this is a preview of second contact. It's not good, whatever it is. I know it is harming people in the real world. I've seen it. We need to be able to trust SEM ad platforms. That trust is being destroyed. For some clients, it has been irrevocably decimated. This happened to marketing. Other sectors and institutions are vulnerable. Is this the year content validation dies? Now, that last statement is a quote from this YouTube video. I would encourage you to watch it. I think it's Perhaps one of the most important videos that we'll find was released this century. Next up, here is a list of every link or reference to a citation that I've made over the course of producing this video and in the process of researching exactly what's going on with this shenanigan. So let's wrap this up here. Closing statements. I am not making any claims of fitness, wrongdoing, nor accusations about any company or business mentioned in this video. I have no special affiliation with, influence over, nor any affiliate deals with, nor have I received any compensation from any company or business mentioned in this video. Google doesn't give me a kickback, and neither do any of the other platforms I mentioned. I do want to see my clients compensated with ad spend refund credits. I want to see their faith in the SEM advertising ecosystem restored. I want a public discussion to take place without fear of retaliation, followed by patches to software, upgrades to security, and repair of trust. And in closing, I have to admit, I was concerned about making this video. One of my big fears as a result of producing this is, will Google shut me down? Will my account get revoked? I should certainly hope not. But then also, how does this reflect on the SEM industry as a whole? Will this scare away clients? So there's a lot of questions wrapped up in there. And there's a lot going on here. There's a lot to detangle. And the only way I think we're going to get through it is if we talk about it openly and honestly. But this is a really big problem now. So thank you for your time and your consideration. Let's figure out how to move forward. Let's do something. And that's a wrap.